Welcome to the Hollywood Raw YouTube page, guys. We're happy to have you here. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave us comments, do all the stuff.
What are you waiting for? Let's go. I got a drug addiction to feed. Welcome to the Hollywood Raw podcast, top 10 stories of the week. My name is Adam Glyn. Joining me is my pal, Dax Holt, on the other side of the country. How are you, sir?
I'm good. It is rainy out here in California right now. We're getting hit with a, winter cyclone or something. I don't even know what the hell it is, but it is nonstop pouring rain right now.
Do you enjoy it? Because you guys don't get water.
We don't get rain a lot, so it's like kind of fun to get hit just by pouring rain.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, listen, this was a fun week of entertainment news. We're going to get to the top 10 stories of the week. Before we get to that, read your reviews. Yes. If you go to like iTunes or if you go to podcast app on Apple, put in Hollywood Raw. If you go all the way to the bottom, say a few kind words, 5 stars. We'll actually read your review live on air. Dax, do you have some reviews ready for us?
I got some reviews. I'm going to read 2 today. You know why, Adam? I've almost read through all 700 reviews at this point, and that we need some new reviews, and I'm going to run out soon, so I'm going to read 2 now so we don't run out. All right, so I got this one. This one comes from Real Ryan S. 5 stars. My listening is complete. Great show, gents. I work all over the country in your show, along with Beyond the Blinds and Fluently Forward, are my loyal travel companions, a lifelong pop culture enthusiast. Your intel and interviews are seriously some of the juiciest bits of info around. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Real Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Keep listening to us. Yeah, we're doing this for you guys, so we appreciate it. All right. Next one. This one comes from Billie Eilish Fan Dudes. 5 stars. New fave. Love the casual banter and insider entertainment info. Quick,
Billie
easy.
Eilish.
Love it.
Thank you.
Billie
Thank you for the
Eilish
kind
Fan
words.
Dudes.
Again, guys, if you haven't done a review, please do it. It's the best thing to do to support us. Now on to the top 10 stories of the week, starting with number 10. Dax, what's number 10?
Number 10, Kristin Cavallari and Tyler Cameron are caught getting all cozy at a New Year's Eve party. There were some rumblings that these two might be together. Obviously, Kristin, former Hills star, and Tyler Cameron from The Bachelorette fame. They were hanging out at New Year's Eve with Kristen Bristow and Jason Tartic. And is that how you say his name?
Caitlin Bristow and Jason Tartic, yeah.
Tartic. All right. There's a bunch of photos of them partying, and then you kept seeing like Kristen and Tyler snuggling up in the background of some videos. So clearly they are officially kind of going public with this relationship. And, she was previously married. They met actually because they were doing a photo shoot together for her jean company, her jewelry brand, Uncommon James. And they did this like whole photo shoot where they were seen kissing and paparazzi caught them kissing. And so it turned into like a really big deal, even though it was just for the brand. Well, it's, during like someone was talking to her on Back to the Beach about it, and she said, we hired Cameron just to get press, and it totally worked. But it seemed like that kiss on set had kind of blossomed into something more. So they seem to be a new couple.
Yeah. I don't know. First of all, Caitlin Bristow and Jason Tartic, I don't know if Tyler and Kristin Cavallari are upset with them because like the post, Jason was the one who posted on his Instagram story, and you clearly see them getting kind of like, hey, like getting a little touchy-feely with each other. So I don't know if they would get pissed at Jason because Jason knew what he was doing when he posted that.
Mm-hmm.
He knew he was going to get some clout from doing that. With that said,
and he was also asking Cameron in the videos, like, what's your like relationship status? Like he was clearly baiting them into kind of going public at this point.
Yeah, I mean, but yet again, I don't know if Kristin and Tyler minded that. Kristin, I would say, is one of the prettiest celebrities I've seen in person.
Oh yeah,
I would say she was gorgeous. Every time I've seen her, I'm like, she's one of those people when she walks into a room, she like doesn't necessarily take your breath away, like Miranda Kerr. Like Miranda Kerr is like an avatar, but Kristin Cavallari is like everyone like eyes go towards her, like she draws attention. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I've met her twice before. I met her once at a red carpet, and then once ran into her at like Third Street Promenade in Santa Monica. Uh, very, very nice person both times.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, listen, if they're happy, I'm happy. But Jason Tartic knew what he was doing in this, and he knew he was going to get some views on his Instagram story. Like it was
But
kind of.
maybe it's kind of a relief, I think, at sometimes when it's just like, oh, finally, like just make it public already. We don't have to keep hiding out. Like just let it go public.
But unless Jason was in on it and they allowed Jason to do that, I thought it was kind of weird on his part
Mm.
because they were
He
kind
wanted
of like
some clout.
stopping New Year's.
He
Yeah,
got some
yeah,
clout.
I know. All right, number 9.
James Corden explains why leaving the Late Late Show was an easy decision for him, which I'm kind of surprised to hear. But he did the Drew Barrymore show on the second, and talked all about what his kind of plans are next. And he kind of always says the Late Late Show was not his final destination. He says that this was just kind of a launching board to get people to really know him so that he could do more projects. And I think he's always looked at it as like, I'm going to come into the world, into the US, because people knew him over in the UK, but people didn't really know him in the US. And so it was his introduction to the US. And I think that he wants to get into more movies and more things, and he doesn't want to take away his time from his family. He's got a couple of young kids. I think 3 young kids, an 11-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And the more projects he does on the side of doing the Late Late Show, it just takes him away from his family. So he's like, I've got all these things I want to do, and I don't want to be away from my family. So something has to give, and that what has to give is the Late Late Show. But he loves it. He was becoming kind of visibly emotional while he was talking to Drew Barrymore about it. He says, I love it, but the truth is it became a very easy decision because I always knew it was an adventure and I never, ever considered it to be my final destination. So there you go. He will be, he says he'll be a mess on the last show. He says he's going to cry his eyes off. And he signed a 1-year extension to his contract. So, it's coming up pretty quickly. It looks like April 28th will be his last show. What's funny is I have legit never once watched his show on CBS at night. I've only watched his show on YouTube. Isn't that crazy?
I've watched a show like briefly. Like I don't watch any of those shows because you don't. There's no takeaways from the shows. They're not real interviews. They're nothing. But
Hmm.
with that said, I thought he did do a good job with what he had. I mean, he was one of those guys where he's almost, in my opinion, just like a Jimmy Fallon. Like he was the guy that celebrities want to go on and just have fun with, and they waited for him to kind of have fun. He was just like a likable guy. However, I feel like with the more recent news that you saw this past year, you saw that maybe that James Corden that you see on TV is not the guy you see in person, and he's been doing a really um, big job of trying to kind of redeem himself in sort of that I'm a good guy category. And when I mean recent news, there
Yeah.
was this story about him at the restaurant Balthazar where he had a bad experience, and um, people kind of thought, "Oh man, this guy is a little bit of an angry guy." But
Yeah, but you can't blame one event to
no,
characterize someone,
no,
though.
not at all, not at all. But I, I don't. I knew, I shouldn't say I knew, but based on from what I knew from James Corden, it sounds about right that this wasn't his full out dream. I felt like this job kind of landed in his lap, and he wound
Hmm.
up being pretty good at it as far as like a likable person to
He
sit on
was
a
really
couch.
good. I feel like
Yeah,
he came here and he exploded on the late night. He
yeah.
didn't even have the prime time spot. He had the after the prime time show. You know what I'm saying? But everyone knew about carpool karaoke and all the things he was doing because he really utilized social media and YouTube to its fullest. And again, I commend him. Never watched it once on television, only through social media, and I became a big fan of his show, having never seen it on television.
He was in that movie with Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley. It was about these musicians in New York. He had a small part. He was Keira Knightley's friend. You ever see that? It was
Mm-mm.
I don't know. It was a really good movie. Um, but yeah, I think that was his goal. Like he's an actor, and it just kind of this job fell in his lap. He had a good run, and
The
now on to
amount
the
of
next.
I mean, the amount of voiceover movies he's done, I feel like every movie that comes out, I'm like, oh, there's James Corden's voice. Like
Yeah.
it's so recognizable. There's so many, and when you have young kids, they're seeing all these movies like Peter Rabbit and this and that. But he does so much, man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right,
okay.
number 8.
All right, let's let it continue with Lenny Hochstein and his wife Lisa Hochstein.
Every
It
week.
seems like the drama. What is it?
Every week, every day, there's them
Every
back and forth.
week. My God. Well, he is now accusing his estranged wife of abuse. He is I mean, this is kind of a shocking turn of events between their very public divorce. He said, Lisa treated me like a servant. And that she refused to help me with the smallest request, yelled at me on a weekly, if not daily basis, established a life completely away from me, stayed out partying when I was home, criticized everything I did except working hard, shoved her friends who I disliked down my throat, embarrassed me in public in front of my friends, and refused to do anything with me. So this goes on. If you guys have been following this drama, she basically is claiming that she was blindsided by this divorce. He, on the other hand, has said this has not been a blindsiding. We have been very unhappy for a long time. I've talked about divorce. We just never did it. And he's like, I was done. I was ready to move on. He already has a new girlfriend, Catherine, who before leaving, Lisa, after 12 years of marriage, accused the reality star of doing what she did. And basically, there's just cheating all around, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. These are two people that are known to go out and enjoy the Miami nightlife. This is what I do know. I'm actually in Miami right now, and it's funny. I had a tip on him the other night, and I was talking to a Miami paparazzi. These are two people that like going out, enjoying the bright, kind of flamboyant Miami nightlife and restaurants and being in the scene, the Miami scene. From what I heard, because I asked the Miami paparazzi how they are, and they said they're both nice. And I said, well, we were waiting on a tip for him. We had a tip on him, and they said that Lenny's like kind of like just is not into it right now. Like he just wants to kind of live his life. So I kind of think this statement is sort of factual because this came from the paparazzi who's been working on him, and they noticed a difference in his personality where he's like, dude, I just want to kind of move on. And I think obviously he's the one that has the money. He's a very famed plastic surgeon. He lives in Star Island here in Miami. Like he's one of those guys where he's like, I don't need the fame as much. I got the little bit of fame. I have the money. I'm just trying to move on. And
I got to imagine this doesn't help business for him, like constantly being all over the tabloids and in the different blogs. Like this is not got to be good for business.
yes, but based on his portfolio, based on his record, based on his wealth, that he's done a good job and people come back to him. And people like to go to surgeons that they sort of know. I mean, it's kind of like a bragging thing. Like, oh, I went to Lenny, like, from Real Housewives of Miami. I think some people rather, obviously he has a good track record. He's proven to be successful. And now he's a name. And I think it becomes that kind of like, oh, this is who I went to. This is who did my procedure. So
Yeah.
I don't know,
By the way, how beautiful is his new girlfriend? Damn.
dude. I mean, this guy, he hits home runs every single time, but he's pretty good. All right, number 7.
Number 7, Todd Chrisley denying an affair with his former business associate, who's a man, and shutting down claims about his sexuality. I mean, listen, this has always been that lingering question in the back of people's minds. Do you not agree? So here's the thing. So he went on his son's podcast and started opening up. It's called Chrisley Confessions. Well, I guess it's his podcast too. He co-hosts it with his son Chase, and they did this podcast on the 28th, and they were talking all about Mark Braddock's accusations that they had an affair. So he said, what insulted me the most is that out of all these 54 years, for me to finally be accused of being with a man, it would be someone who looked like Mark. Referring to what a toad, an ugly person is. He goes, a toad, someone that looks like a thumb, someone who's only had sex with his wife and me. And then he added, let me tell you something. I could understand if you've had sex with me, you would I would make you crazy. I get that. There have been many who have been dick-mitzed by your daddy? Dick-mized by your
Yeah.
daddy? Jesus Christ. I th Todd Chrisley's like literally the last person I wanna hear talking about this
Yeah,
kinda
right?
stuff.
It's so awkward.
Um, it's so awkward, like, the whole thing, like, even him joking about it, it's I don't know. There's a part of me that I'm like, "But did you?"
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. It did make you question, and I just I'm I think this Todd Chrisley is going to use it, the last few weeks until he goes into his full, like, he's got to make money now. He owes money. So you need to put your name out there to pay off your debt. So I don't know. I'm curious if he's going to write a book. I'm curious. Obviously, he's going to probably charge around to do, look around to do interviews and get paid for interviews. I thought it was a pretty funny statement. That's how he responded. I think we've all questioned Todd about what he's into for a
You
long
mean
time.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I could see him doing it. This is my prediction. I'm just throwing
Okay.
it out there. Todd goes and does some crazy interview for money and says some crazy statement, and then an outlet has to pay for it. But the problem is,
100%.
I don't know if outlets are paying for interviews anymore. They used to.
But he probably does it after he gets out, right?
He might do
Because
during
I don't
because
know, that
out.
money that he makes, does that then go, does that get wrapped into all of this thing? Because I mean, keep in mind he was found guilty on tax evasion, bank and wire fraud, conspiracy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how the financial works, but yet again, he still owes money. And are we going to care in 10 years when he gets out?
Nope.
So make your money
Now
now.
people will. People will.
Yeah, but
It's
it's gonna. I
they'll
think
wanna
people are gonna.
hear how it went.
There's gonna be a lot of reality stars that kind of come in the next 10 years. Todd Chrisley is gonna be 40. It's gonna be so far in the past. It's like, oh, remember him? All right, let's move on from Todd. Number 6, Dex.
Number 6, Steven Tyler will no longer perform at the Power of Love Gala due to health issues, is what they're saying. He was removed from the event's ads, but here's the thing. He was recently accused of sexually assaulting a 16-year-old girl back in the 1970s. If you've seen this story pop up, basically there was a law in California that allowed people to come forward, and that window of opportunity closed on December 31st, and so this came forward before that like window of opportunity for old lawsuits to come forward closed. And so, I was reading through this whole story. So this woman, when the lawsuit was filed, was under Jane Doe and said that when I was 16 years old, he used his influence, his power, his money, and got me on booze and all this kind of stuff, and made me get an abortion. And what's crazy is that he talked about this in his memoir. Did you know that?
Really? I did not know
He
that.
wrote about this 3-year-long relationship that he had with a 16-year-old girl when he was 23 at the time, and talked all about that she did get pregnant. He didn't talk about the abortion, but talked about having this relationship with an underage woman, or I'm sorry, an underage girl. And so I'm like, oh damn, he literally like put it all out there, and now she's suing him for it. And yeah, I got to imagine that this one will go through because he's already acknowledged it. So he didn't, he didn't say her name in the book back then, I don't believe, or gave her a fake name. But this woman now is coming forward, and she's dealt with the aftermath for many years. I mean, she's been an advocate for, I think, like against abortion because she was forced into an abortion. So now she has spoken out about it for many years, and I think it really messed with her.
Yeah, that's a pretty. To be honest with you, Dax, I didn't know the ins and outs of the story, especially that law that passed that people could come forward before the end of the year. I don't know how
It
this
was
story
like a
plays out.
3-year window or something, and it just closed, yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. I don't know how this plays out. I mean, I have to imagine this thing settles out of court, but it's not good to the resume. It just sucks. I mean, it's just a shitty situation. I don't know. There's
Yeah,
I
and the woman's name is Julia. I guess she's spoken about it a couple times in the past, but this one, so when I talk about the Power of Love Gala and its health issues, I don't think it's health issues. I think that they basically said, "Thank you, Stephen, but we no longer would like you here. We don't want to give you an award with this going on." So, I think health issues is literally just a cover up for,
Oh
"Hey,
yeah,
this is all going on. You got a sexual assault allegation against you. The last thing we need is for you to show up."
yeah, totally agree. Makes sense. But he has had health issues. I mean, he did go to rehab not too long ago, but I do think there's a lot going on there, and it's not a good look for anybody. And it's one of those things where let's just wait a little bit and see how this story unfolds. I don't think it gets settled.
I
Obviously,
don't
I
think
think
this
something
is
like
gonna
this.
unfold well for him. I honestly don't. I think that if he was willing to write about this in his memoir, you've basically given any judge or jury a roadmap to exactly what you did and validating her claims.
But does this even go that far? Does it just get settled out of court?
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah. All right. Number 5.
Number 5, Ashley Olsen. She gets married. This was a surprise. Ashley Olsen and her longtime boyfriend, Louis Eisner, they had a secret Bel Air home ceremony. They've been together for 5 years, and I don't even know if her sisters were there. I'm assuming they were. They didn't really have too many details other than it was like a super small private event, 50 people, like in total. The Olsons have obviously been very, very private most of their life. And so no surprise that no one knew about this wedding until after the fact. But I'm happy for her. I've always really liked the Olsen twins, even though they are weird and bizarre and like reclusive. But I like that she got married on her own terms.
Yeah, I think it's hard to have a secret wedding these days, and they're able to pull it off. This is just a random story because there's not much to say about Ashley Olsen getting married. Congratulations! But I ran into the about a month ago. I ran into remember Mary Kate Olsen, her sister, her twin sister was
Do I remember her? Was that a
well.
joke?
Well, do you remember when she was married, or was she married or dating
Yeah,
that
to
French
Olivier
guy?
Sarkozy. Yeah,
Yeah, remember that guy?
yeah. Telling you, dude, I used to be obsessed with these two. I used to be able to be the only one inside the TMZ newsroom that could tell them apart. Like you could show me any photo, past, present, of them, and I could be like, "That one's Mary Kate, that one's Ashley." I had this weird, like, I could tell them apart,
So
and
I
no one else
ran
did.
I ran into him outside a Knicks game recently, and I kept looking at this guy. I was like, "How do I know this guy?" And he comes out, and he's French. He's like smoking cigarettes, and he comes out with this younger girl, not like Olsen twin young, but like I would say in mid 30s, in the 30s. I don't know if it was low 30s or mid 40s or pretty, and she was very much into him. But he was just like not an attractive guy at all, but like you could tell like a big smoker. He's French. And I just kept staring at this guy, like, man, this guy was married to an Olsen twin. I mean, he's obviously filthy loaded, but still, it was
Yeah.
just an interesting mix to see that guy was married to Mary Kate
It
Olsen.
didn't make sense. It was so weird. What a weird relationship. Yeah, I
Weird. It
never
was weird for him.
understood
It was
that
weird
one.
for her. I was like, what do you guys find attractive about each other? You know, I don't get it.
Yeah.
All right, number 4.
All right, let's get into this Jeremy Renner topic. He was ran over by a snowplow. I gotta admit, the first press release that they put out was so confusing. It was like weather-related incident with a snowplow. No, the dude got crushed by a snowcat. Like, what are you talking about? Like, he had an incident with a snowplow, not a weather-related one. So he has been in really, really bad shape. But he did share the first photo from the hospital. I got it right here for people on YouTube. You can see it. But basically, there was a 911 call that went out, and what had happened was he was plowing the road for his neighbor and for trying to get one of his relatives' cars out of the driveway or the road. And I guess he got out of the snow plow. It started to roll. He went to go jump back into it, and it literally crushed him, ran him over. But so like really, really bad, like completely crushed one of his chest. He had trouble breathing. They had to airlift him from his home to the hospital. And so he was in really, really bad shape. His chest was collapsed and his upper torso was crushed, is what they said in the report. So he is very lucky to be alive right now.
Yeah, he's been documenting his journey to kind of recovering right now, and which is kind of nice. It's good to see him in good spirits. It's like it's he I guess he posted videos of him in the shower now, like not in the shower completely, like, but he's getting bathed and getting the recovery. So he seems like mentally, like he's there. He's just his body's healing. So it's just nice that he's kind of keeping everybody in the loop and thanking everyone for the well wishes. I think when it first happened, we were all confused of like, what are you talking about? How does something like this happen? But it's a
And have you
very
seen,
weird.
like, the machine? This is not a little, like, little riding snowplow, like, this is a heavy-duty, massive machine with, like, kinda like tank, like, wheels, like, with
Yeah,
big s I don't know what you call those things, but, like, rolling straps that he got caught under.
it's such a random kind of like what the hell kind of accident. It's just so kind of like it sucks. It's shitty. However, it's good to see that Jeremy Renner is like, he's documenting himself getting better and like, guys, like I'm getting there. Like I'm mentally I'm okay. My ego might be hurt, but physically my body needs to recover. So he's been good at kind of documenting that. Hope he gets better. All right, Dax, number 3.
Number 3, TLC's Chile and Matthew Lawrence are dating. This one kind of came out of nowhere, at least for me personally. I did not see these two hooking up. But the two of them kind of officially went public on social media. We knew that they've been hanging out for the last couple months. They became kind of romantically linked ahead of Thanksgiving. They were photographed on the beach in Hawaii back in August. But remember, he is kind of fresh off a divorce from one of our previous guests, Cheryl Burke, where we even asked her about their divorce, and she was just like, "Yeah, it's tough." But him and Chile have now kind of burst onto the scene. Chile's rep actually said, "I've been with Chile since 2005. I've never seen her this in love, and that they are really cute together, and she is glowing." What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, Chili's very attractive. She looks great. Like, remember we saw her not too long ago,
We
and
saw her. Yeah, we saw her at the music festival in
yeah,
Omaha.
yeah, she looks fantastic.
She's good.
Matthew Lawrence is like sort of. He seems like a nice guy. I mean, I don't know him personally. I've never met him, but he seems like a nice guy based on seeing on social media. Cheryl Burke kind of stirred the
She
pot a little
shaded
bit.
a little bit.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
shaded them. It's
she basically posted on social, like, that was fast, and that's all she said, because there were some he was linked to her before their divorce was complete. However, they did say that they were only friends at that time. It has developed into more since then, but they were only friends at that time. And so, no, she was in no way a part or the reason for his divorce from Cheryl.
yeah, yeah. That's what we're being told. But there's his side, there's her side, and there's the truth.
Well, the
Again,
fact that she said that was fast is one thing. I think if she would have said, told everyone that asshole's been cheating on me, like, I think it would have been different. But I think she's more like, shit, like, we just got a divorce and you're already going public with someone new.
listen, Cheryl Burke was on the podcast. Appreciate that she came on the podcast. However, my opinion is like she seems like she's a little tough. I think she's
Yeah.
been open about some of her issues that she's had over the years, but it's not easy for a partner. So,
I think that was the number one thing that we got from the fans that listened to the episode was, wow, commend you guys for getting through that episode.
yeah, yeah, and it's like Matthew's got to do what makes him happy. He met someone that makes him happy. He's got to do what he's got to do. He's got to worry about himself, And I think it was weird that Cheryl kind of made it public. Like it wasn't necessary. She could have just kept her mouth shut. But now everyone has to kind of get that. She planted that seed in some people's head where, oh, it's poor Cheryl, but
Mm.
it's what about poor Matt? I mean, he's got to find his happiness too. So happy they're together. Chile is a very attractive girl. I think it's a fun couple. If this happened in the 90s, we would have been going even crazier. But
Losing our minds.
yeah. All right. Number 2.
All right, TJ Holmes's wife says that she is disappointed by his quote unquote lack of discretion amid this whole divorce. So Marley Feiberg, as her name, is speaking out for the first time amid this like whole divorce and the cheating scandal that has affected these GMA3 anchors. So she has put out a statement through her attorney to the Daily Mail saying Marley's sole focus has remained on the overall best interest of her 9-year-old daughter. To that end, TJ's attorney and I have been working together to move their divorce forward privately, expeditiously, and amicably as possible. The attorney added, notwithstanding, we continue to be disappointed by TJ's lack of discretion, respect, and sensitivity towards Marley and the party's daughter. So it sounds like Marley's been touched by the outpouring of support and looks forward to new beginnings in the new year. It was so funny when we first reported this story that the Daily Mail had broken. I knew it was going to be a big story. I didn't realize that it was going to be this big because not everyone watches GMA, but damn, the story has turned into one of the top talked about stories over the last like 2 months.
I think the interest of this story goes where, like, when you see the morning show people, the morning show hosts,
Hmm.
I think the illusion is that we find them to be the most perfect people. Like they're married, they have kids, they're family, they're all happy.
Yeah.
But realistically, we found out over the past years that they're not all happy. There's a lot of drama behind the morning show, which created the TV show, The Morning Show with Jennifer Aniston. Like there's a lot of false narrative. You know, the show seems very family friendly, but again, there's a lot of drama behind the scenes. Now, these guys, this couple, TJ and Amy, had an affair. ABC
Hmm.
wasn't aware of it, which when there is an internal affair at a corporation, you're supposed to let HR know that there's something going on, which they didn't. Um, but again,
Yeah. And then
there's so many
it's
levels to
like,
this story. Like, again, did one of the spouses hire a private investigator to kind of work on this story for a while? Because there were so many photos for so long. I mean, this story was brewing for such a long time that this was not just, in my opinion, it wasn't just a paparazzi just catching them. This was a private investigator working on this story. Again, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but it's too much work for average paparazzi to kind of work on this stuff.
I
Um,
don't know. Unless someone knew and they got the tip, they started working on it, and it just like they knew it was going to blow up into what it has.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. These guys like drinking during the day. They're always like having a drink during the day, TJ. But yet again, they're not hiding. Like TJ and Amy, like they're living their
Well, that
life. Like
that
they
that
have
was the only
kids.
time they could because they would go home to their spouses, the people they were married to, at night. So
Yeah.
the only time they had to drink was right after work. They would go get a drink.
Yeah. And it's interesting. They, now that their relationship is out there, they're not hiding. They went on vacation to Miami. They've been seen kissing and hugging. They're visiting they're going to each other's places. Like it's out. Now the question is, how is Good Morning America going to deal with it? That's to be determined. They haven't returned to the show, but TJ's, I guess, they're still married technically. Um, she put out a statement saying, "I wish he would have more respect for his daughter," which is a very tough statement to say. We'll see how the
Mhm.
story unravels.
Cool.
All right,
All right.
Dax, the number one story of the week.
Oh, I love me a good royal story, and it just keeps getting messier and messier. Prince Harry is now saying his brother physically attacked him, and this is all going down in that new autobiography, Spare. So, a portion of it was obtained by The Guardian. They have now been revealing little details. It sounds like that. There was a little meeting that they had over at Kensington Palace, kind of when everything was really getting rough. And Prince William came over to Harry's house, and according to it, so let me find the exact quote here. He said that when William arrived, Harry says his brother was already piping hot and that he called Meghan difficult, rude, and abrasive, terms that, Harry says it has been parroted through the press narrative about his wife. The two men started trading insults. Harry says William claimed he was trying to help, and he shot back, "Are you serious? Help me?" that's when things got really bad. And he says that that comment angered William, and that when it moved to the kitchen, he says that he gave his brother a glass of water, and that William set it down the water, called out his called him another name, and then came after him. He says it happened so fast that Harry was kind of like caught off guard. He grabbed me by the collar, ripped my necklace, and knocked me to the floor. I landed on the dog's bowl, which cracked under my back and pieces cutting into me. I lay there for a moment, dazed, then I got up to my feet and told him to get out. Harry then continued to say his brother attempted to taunt him into fighting back. He refused, and that's when William left. And then he returned looking regretful and apologized, and then said basically, "You don't need to tell Megan about this." Well, that's not the only thing that he is claiming. There is another story saying that, also in this book, saying that William and Kate convinced him to wear that notorious Nazi costume. So, another part of this book, he says that he wasn't really sure if he was going to wear a pilot uniform or a Nazi outfit to this native and colonial themed soiree in London. And so he phoned up Kate and William to get their opinions. He said, the quote was, "I phoned up Willie and Kate, asked them what they thought. Nazi uniform, they said." Here, and then I guess he went over to their house before going to the party, and he said they both started howling, thinking it was the funniest thing ever. Anyway, someone obviously took a picture in the party, and you know the rest of the story. He got just crucified for wearing that Nazi outfit. But basically saying it was one of the biggest mistakes of his life, but now kind of pointing the blame to they were the ones that encouraged me to wear it, and I took the heat for it, and I never told anyone else. What are your thoughts?
Ooh, man, that's tough. That is some statements. I mean, this book is going to be, it's not going to help out the relationship between him and his brother. I
Not
mean,
at all.
is
I
it
mean, it's just
to
it's
be that
going
there's
down a road.
to say that there's a physical fight and we're just learning about this now is wild. And I'm just curious how William responds to this book and responds to Harry. Like he's going to have to address it and we'll find out the
I think
truth.
so here so what I'm gathering from the royal family is publicly they will say no comment, or that's his version of history or whatever, and make it very PC on the top. What Harry is saying is what they'll do is then start leaking out all the negative stories behind the scenes as a smear campaign against him, and that's what he keeps like fighting about. And I think he gets this rap of he's the whiner, he's the one screaming at the top of his lungs, but he's up against a big institution here that makes him look really bad. And I've already seen. I went onto Twitter yesterday, and it's like people are just destroying him and Meghan. And it's like all this whole narrative that the palace puts out, it works. People go after every single thing that Harry and Meghan say because that's what the palace wants. I don't know. There's a lot of obviously people that can't stand them, a lot of people that love them. I stand with, I think they're telling the truth. I think that they are trying to get their side out, but they're being muted and constantly, you know, their reputation's trashed that they can't even get out the truth anymore. No one wants no Most people are just trying to tell them to shut up.
So here's my question with this. Prince Harry and Meghan have kept saying we just want a private life. We just want to live our life privately. But I feel like they keep making stuff public,
Yeah,
which brings
I don't think I think that what they want is their story told, and as crazy, like, people don't wanna believe their story because it is so bizarre. You wouldn't picture Prince William attacking Harry. You don't picture there being racism inside the palace, but I think they're like, "Guys, our life is not what everyone thinks it is. There's a reason we left." They're still trying to make people understand their motives for stepping out of the royal family, because no one wants to believe that, because everyone wants it to be a fairy tale, and every person out there wants to be a queen, a princess, like, people want that. And so you're ruining this like ideal fantasy for so many people that they can't understand why they would do it.
yeah. Man, it is just a wild story. I'm waiting for how William's going to address it now, and I'm curious, based on what you said, Dex, if that's how the PR of the institution, is going to deal with this story. If they're going to just kind of put out their own narrative saying it's, we're trying to keep it internally, all issues, or we have no comment. That's his recollection of the past. I'm curious how they respond. And I think it's just a waiting
Like I
game at this
said,
point. But it's
I'm
just a wild thing.
99% sure they will publicly say, whatever they need to, which makes them look good, and then leak out 75 more stories saying how they're horrible people and to continue this hatred towards Harry and Meghan is really what it'll come down to.
I'm also curious how many books this guy sells.
I think he's going to sell a shit ton of books.
Do you think it's the big? I mean, do you think it's the biggest book of the year?
Oh yeah, that's going to be huge.
Well, he's only like 15 days into the year, so he's got not that much. All right, well, guys, thank you for listening to the top 10 stories of the week. Make sure you guys leave us a review. It's the best thing to do to support us, and we give you a little shout out on the air. Follow us on Instagram at Hollywood Raw Pod. We're also on TikTok, Facebook. We have this private Facebook group called Off the Record, where we get to communicate with you. You guys get to communicate with each other and just have this really good interactions and just kind of have this really cool entertainment news community. Follow me at Adam Glyn. Follow Dax Holt at Dax Holt. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
What's up, guys? If you like that video, there's plenty more where that came from.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so we can just feed you all the goodness daily.
Hurry up. Come on, let's go.